Okay. So my first question is, how would you assess the club's season so far?
Right. Okay. So clearly we've made a great start. We're unbeaten in the league with, I think it's 5 wins, 2 draws out of 7, and joint top along with Colville and second only on goal difference. We're still in the FA Trophy with Leiston to come in the first round proper. First time we got that far. And we're at home, which is great. We're currently the Suffolk Premier Cup holders after beating Lowestoft over 2 legs. Having beaten Ipswich Town in the first round, I think it was Leiston in the quarter-final and Stowe in the semi-final. So I think we can definitely say without fear of contradiction that we're Suffolk again. We continue as Suffolk's top non-league side. And of course, we've got Leiston to come in the first round of this year's Suffolk Premier Cup whenever that gets going. So, so far so good. Made a great start.
You, as you just said, then you called it a great start. Would you call it the dream start?
Yeah, the only slight disappointment was getting knocked out of the FA Cup at the first hurdle, if you like. I mean, in probably our one bad performance, losing away to Hitchin, 3-0 that Tuesday night. So disappointing, and obviously the loss of income was a bit of a blow, but there you go. We've recovered well, and obviously we got further in the trophy, as I've just said, than we've ever been before, so that's good.
Does the how it's panned out so far match any targets that you had before the season?
Yeah, the targets, well, ever since I can remember, the target has always been to better the previous season. So last year, okay, it was curtailed, but we were just mid-table 13th, I think, at the final day of reckoning. So anything in the top half would be an improvement. So that's one target. But obviously, we'd like to get close, either in the playoffs or close. And obviously, it would be great to win the league, and we're up there at the moment. But it's very early days. So the target is to do better than last year, and obviously finish well towards the top, in the top half.
With no disrespect to like management and players, etc. Previously, one concern amongst supporters, you could say, was consistency in terms of results and results. So obviously that's been crucial in that this season, would you say?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, talk to Kevin Horlock and he'll, just like he tells the players and tells everybody, win your home games and get the odd and draw the away games, which is exactly what we've done, is the secret of success. I agree last year, we performed better away than we did at home, which is strange. But obviously that's a style thing. A lot of clubs will come to somewhere like Needham and a great surface, and they'll play probably the best they've played all season, and they used to beat us, but not this year. Our home record this year has been brilliant, and that's largely down to a change of playing style, I suggest, not just formation. But this year, instead of struggling to score goals, particularly at home, we've been scoring lots. We've averaged over 3 a game at home. So, and then that's playing, pressing, attacking, a lot of stuff that we weren't doing last season, to be honest.
No.
So Kevin, a breath of fresh air, yes.
Yeah. We've been very, like you say, we've been very clinical this season, and we've almost played most teams off the park because we've been like 1 or 2-0 up inside like 20 minutes for pretty much most home games, really.
Absolutely. We've gone in at half-time, on average, 2-0 up, apart from the games we've drawn. But again, also pleasing has been, when we've been away, we've actually gone down occasionally. We've been 1-0 down, and we've come back and either won, like we did at Old Church, or drawn the 2 games we did play away, which we didn't win.
Yeah, and out of the league games only, because I know you probably say the County Cup was the overall highlight, if there's any league game that you could say is your highlight of the season so far, which one would you pick?
I think, and you're right to mention certainly the first leg of the Suffolk Premier Cup against Lowestoft, because we played with 10 men for 3/4 of that game and still beat them 3-1. But no, my league highlight has to be the 3-0 home win against Bromsgrove, I think. I'd have given that 9.5 out of 10. I thought we were brilliant. And their supporters, their directors thought we were brilliant. Best side they'd played as well. And I know in the non-league paper we only got a 4 out of 5 for entertainment, but actually their supporters were saying it was a 5 out of 5 on a non-league basis. I seem to remember. So yeah, that was my highlight in terms of league performances.
And as we say on like how mad, I guess you can say it mad, that we've improved so far this season, to compare that to last year, I think we lost 3-0 to Bromsgrove at home. So
I wasn't going to mention that, but we did indeed. We beat them 1-0 away earlier in a great game. Joe Marsden scored the winning goal. But yeah, they turned us over when they came a few weeks later, beat us 3-0, as you say. And they're a strong side. I mean, they were up there in the top. Even towards the end, I think they were the top few. Would have made the playoffs anyway.
Yeah, that was what I was just about to say.
Yeah.
We've kind of beaten or got really good results against those sides that were either up there last season or up there with us so far, which has been helpful, really. Yeah.
And the only side that really pushed us, apart from that unfortunate loss in the FA Cup against Hitchin, was probably Banbury away.
Yeah.
I mean, we went down in that, but we got back. And in fact, Marsden again hit the bar, I think, seem to remember, with not that long to go. We could have won that 2-1 very easily. It was a great game to watch. It's a good playing surface. They play a very similar sort of game to us. In others, they keep it down. And, it was a good game.
Yeah. Us and Banbury are quite similar alike. And, like, results seem to, like, if you look at the overall head-to-head between the two teams, I don't think it kind of, like, favours either team. I think it's, like, fairly even.
Yeah, that's true.
And like you say, Joe hit the bar. He came off the bench in the second half. He set up Luke's goal. He hit the bar. Yeah. Definitely. We could have ended up with like a 2-1 win. And we could have had... would have been nice to have 2 extra points. But to be honest, I think you can safely say the point was the least we deserved that day. But
I think the draw was about right. They shaded the first half, we shaded the second.
Yeah.
And the other thing to remember, of course, is that in terms of similarity, and their style is very similar to ours, always has been, they even play in the same colour strip as we do.
Yes. Yeah, they're the exact same kits as us last season. They've got a new one now.
Yes, yeah.
And obviously we've mentioned about the run, but how important was it to get that brilliant start that we've mentioned after the first lockdown?
Obviously, you could argue that it was a shame the lockdown happened when it did, because we were certainly on a roll. The danger always is when you have an enforced break, I mean, this happens even in the Premiership, is that, the players are never going to be total 100% match fit when they restart. Obviously, we're not being allowed to have any training sessions or certainly no competitive games while lockdown carries on. And even if it finishes on the 2nd as planned, we're all hoping that, Suffolk will still be Tier 1, at worst Tier 2. So if the season starts, in fact, I've heard this morning that the Southern League are talking about, we had a questionnaire from them a while ago, and we were asked when we'd want the season to start, assuming we come out of lockdown on the 2nd. And they've gone with the majority, which was our view as well. His first league game is now likely to be Saturday, the 12th of December, when we're away to, I forget who we're away to, Barwell, I think it is.
Yes.
On that day. And that gives us at least sort of a week and a half to get the players back up to match fitness, which is, as I say, always the problem. Although I also understand this is subject to the FA's final say, but the first round proper of the FA Trophy is now looking like it could be Tuesday the 8th of December. So that's the Tuesday before that Saturday league game. So it could be that we'll be playing, a week after lockdown, after we come out of lockdown against Leiston, but at least it's at home on our pitch. So I don't think we need to fear them in that respect.
And it's a team we know quite well as well.
Yeah, it's about getting players back up to match fitness. I mean, we're actually quite fortunate in that, we train twice a week if we're not playing on the Tuesday night. Players are generally fit. I would say generally fitter than the opposition would be. And I think you saw that when we were playing in the last round of the trophy. We were certainly the fitter side in the second half.
Definitely, yeah. Yeah, because no disrespect to Three Bridges, because obviously they're a lower league side. But we, as Tom, myself and Kieran have mentioned in previous interviews, we kind of forced them to start kicking us, really, because of how fit and quick we were.
I think that's the one slight, not disappointment, because I suppose in a way it's a mark of respect, but certain of our players, particularly the two young, fittest, quickest, and obviously I'm talking about Callum Page and Noah, I mean, they do tend to be targeted, and that was most evident when we played Lowestoft in the second leg of the FA Cup, the Premier Cup final. We'd already played them twice, and they knew exactly the game we were playing, and they targeted Noah quite criminally, I thought, and Callum as well. And fortunately, those two are incredibly fit, and even though they're young, they're fit, strong, and nothing would stop Noah running through a brick wall, personally, is my view.
That's very true. That's the kind of beauty, if you like, of the academy and the young players that come through, like Pagey, Noah, Kai coming through, who had a run before it ended, Fletcher, of course.
Kai Fletcher.
That's like they've all kind of, because they had a bit of a taste of it. They've had a bit of a taste of it whilst they were playing 18s and obviously reserves as well. That they've came into the first team, and like we've said, they've like almost batted off the kicks and stuff, because it's almost like you say, it's a mark of respect to them of how good they clearly are.
Yeah.
Okay. So going into the obviously the second lockdown, has it had much of an effect on the club in terms of finances?
Financially, obviously, it's not ideal, because obviously we're losing income. The hub's not open. We're not getting any income from the 3G hires. But the major thing is that the academy has continued. It's an academic institution. So the academic stuff's going ahead with the teachers, the coaching's going ahead. So that's good. So what I'd say is financially, we're certainly much better off than almost any other club I can think of, certainly around our area. So we're losing income, we're missing it, but we're okay. We're financially stable. And Graham and Rob Peace have been brilliant in just about any grant that's been going. We've been going for and getting. So that's been good. And we've just heard that we've got another 20,000 from the FA Premier League for the floodlight replacement.
Oh, excellent.
Great news. Yeah.
Is that part of the grant that they've put down towards like our level that was announced today?
No, that's not anything to do with, that's the government 300 million, I think, which will include us. So I'm sure Graham and Rob will be looking at another application to see if we can get our hands on that, because it does cover clubs at our level, both men and ladies.
Nice one. Did the club have a contingency plan going into this situation?
contingency plan. No, other than we've been there before. So when the first lockdown happened back in March, obviously we applied to the furlough scheme because all our players virtually are on contract. So that works well, and we'll do the same for this one as well, and that obviously helps.
Cool.
So I don't think did we have any other contingency plan. No, we'd done it once, so it was just a rerun of what we did under lockdown 1.
Awesome. Has the COVID and the 2 lockdowns affected the club's 10-year plan in any way?
No, I've just mentioned the floodlights, which is the next big project. We're hoping that will be done early next year, sort of January time, obviously depending on weather and a few other things. I mean, virtually we've had, as you're well aware, we've had the odd problem with a floodlight bulb or 3 failing on a Tuesday night, which is always a worry. So with the grant that we've applied for, it'll only cover, these grants typically cover 2/3 of the cost, so you still got to raise the rest. But it'll cover the complete replacement of the floodlight system apart from the stanchions themselves. So that's all the switch gear, the bulbs, and all that sort of stuff. So we'll have effectively a brand new floodlight system on the first team pitch, and obviously the 3G pitch is virtually brand new, so that's not a problem.
Fantastic.
We've already done, as you're aware, we've done the car park and the storage area, which we got separate grants for. So that's okay. We haven't finished it in terms of we haven't tarmacked it yet, and that's for later. But actually, that project's virtually is effective in that we're parking cars on it, and that's great. The floodlights are project 2, and then the other project in the 10-year plan is, or the next project in the 10-year plan is the replacement of the main stand. So that's more of a long-term thing. We haven't yet decided exactly what we're going to do. Almost certainly it'll mean removing the existing one and putting up. We've got to replace the number of seats, and obviously we want even more than that for when we hopefully eventually get promoted to step 2, the non-league system. But so that's a project for the next project for the future. Yeah. So the 10-year plan. It's not necessarily written in stone. It's an aspiration. It's good to put down where you think we could go and where we want to go. So I'd say that it's very much it's in progress. Nothing changed on that.
Excellent. And as we've already touched on, the league issued the restart day of the 12th. Am I right in saying that you were the club? We're in agreement of starting on the 12th.
Yeah, I think I mentioned we were sent a questionnaire, and after discussion with Kevin and Tom, Tom in particular wanted the 1 week's at least preparation to get the players back up to match fitness, which I was talking about earlier. So we asked for, we said we wanted the 12th, and that's what the majority of clubs in the Southern League went for. There were a few that wanted to go back on Saturday the 5th, but and I believe the league is talking about if clubs that wanted to start on the 5th want to, they can still ask to do so, but we won't. We said we want to start on the 12th, so we're expecting our first league game, as I said earlier, to be away against Barwell.
And Barwell's been, I guess you can say, a fairly difficult or I guess conflicting place that we've gone. The 2 times we've gone, we won 2-0, I think, and then we lost 1-0 in Kev's first game. So that won't necessarily be an easy game, really.
No, they haven't made the best of starts, but not that means much. No, we'll go away expecting, or Kev will be expecting to come home with at least a point.
Yeah, and that was the least we deserved when we went up there last time. We were just arguably unfortunate because of a late winner that we were denied a point.
Yeah, it wasn't quite last kick of the game, but we didn't, I'm trying to think, we didn't close the guy down, and we conceded a free kick wide on the left, and they crossed and scored, is my memory of that goal.
Yes, something like that, I think. And You mentioned that. So, in terms of looking forward now, where do you think we'll end up at the end of the season, league-wise?
Well, I mean, at the moment, I'd love to see us winning it, of course, and we do want to get up to step 2. That's the club's ambition. And I see no reason why we wouldn't or couldn't and won't. As long as if we got put into the south, of course, it would be a bit of a problem if we were put in the north, and it'll always depend on who actually gets promoted, who gets relegated, who gets into administration, as to where they draw that line, as to whether we go north or south, because they're very close to the centre of gravity in the middle. But whether we make it this year or next or the year after that, I'd like to think it was this year, given the start we've got and the squad we've got. And we've certainly got the best squad I can ever remember at Needham. You know, it's a blend of youth and experience. I mean, you look through that squad, and Kieran, who came through the academy, is now one of the more established players, which is amazing. So I'd be disappointed if we didn't. I mean, we will. I'm sure we'll make a major objective of finishing higher than last year. I personally would be disappointed if we didn't make the playoffs.
That's fair. I was just thinking, would like the playoffs be the minimum, like that you'd hope for?
Yeah, I'd hope for. But as I said, the objective is always to do better than last year. And if you keep on doing that, as generally speaking, we have. If you look at the promotions we've had over the last 20 odd years, you know, the trajectory has been ever upwards.
Which is very impressive, and down to a lot of hard work from the likes of yourself, Graham, and obviously other directors and playing and coaching staff.
And the academy, of course, which very much is not only does give us a financial underpinning, but it also gives us player progression, you know, the likes of Kieran's and Millsies, and the 2 or 3 younger ones we've already talked about, you know, Callum and Noah in particular.
And so, Jake came through as well, didn't he?
Sorry, and Jake, you know, who after not struggling, but, you know, after he's now he's re-established himself as the number 1 choice at right back and playing really well.
Most definitely.
One man of the match to boot. So he's doing well.
Yeah, when he scored the league goal, the club's social media that day literally went off the charts. I don't think I've ever seen so much like engagement with a Needham, like Needham tweets and like match reports, or his interview is the highest viewed club one at about 400.
Yeah. No, he's a very popular player in the squad. He's very quiet and self-effacing, all the rest of it. And of course his mum and his grandmother make up for that. But so he's very popular in the club. So that was great, yeah. I remember when he scored his first goal for the club, which was away, I think it was against Haverhill in the last season, well, the one we've just finished, Suffolk Premier Cup.
Yeah, Rovers.
But, a league game is somewhat different when he scored that goal, and it was a good team goal as well. Yeah, well spotted by Tom, I think it was, who realised that the opposition were not closing down on the right, and he'd been told to get forward, and sure enough, he did, and in it went.
Instinctive finish as well, I remember.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And does the club have any particular FA Trophy aims?
Well, obviously, I mean, as I said earlier, this is the first time we've ever been to the first round proper. The money becomes, you know, increasingly, you know, important. It's slightly better this year in that you typically get 3/4 of the prize fund for winning and 1/4 if you lose. But, you know, if we win, there's, how much is it? There's 5,250 on the next one, the game against Leiston. But win that one, and then it jumps up to, I think it's a bit more. And then it goes up 1,000 around typically. So it would be nice to, you know, get at least through the next round and possibly the next one. And then who knows? it's unlikely that we'll ever make it all the way to Wembley, which of course we should have done when we backed down to step 5 in the Vars. But you never know. Step 2, well, Brackley was step 2 when they won it a couple of years ago.
Yeah, definitely. And I think it'll be kind of fitting to mention the County Cup last, like finish on a, well, kind of a high, because obviously we won some silverware, which I think has been definitely the highlight. So, first of all, obviously with the one that we've won, because we've still got this year's to come, what was the best part of the County Cup win?
I think it's obviously, was it? No, I'd say it was beating Lowestoft in the first leg. I mean, we were comfortably in control, and then Kieran gets sent off. And I watched that. I was fairly close to where it happened. There were 2 players, Jake, who we talked earlier, and Dan Morphew were covering. Even one of their directors said they were in line anyway. Plus the fact that if you watch we haven't got video of it, I don't think, but if you watch the photographs that are around, Jake Reed fell into Kieran. That's how I saw it. I thought it was incredibly harsh, and there's no way that was a red. And then to play out the remaining 3 quarters of the game and win it 3-1 was impressive, I thought. So that was a highlight. I mean, most of us, I suppose, thought, well, we'll take a 2-0 lead up to Lowestoft. That should be more than enough. It was squeaky bum time, to be honest, towards the end, particularly when Luke got himself sent off. But we held out, and deservedly, even Godbold agreed that over the 2 legs, Needham deserved to win. So, no, that first leg, the win with 10 men, battling that out, would be my highlight, I think. I mean, beating Stowmarket at Sudbury was pleasing. I suppose you could argue even more so. Beating Leiston in the quarterfinal was even more so. Game, we dominated both those games. I know we only beat Leiston 1-0, but we should have won by more than that. Having a piece of silverware in the cupboard already this year is a great start again.
And we beat Lowestoft 3-1 at home in what were 2 very different games as well.
Yeah, I mean, we dominated both of them. We should have won certainly the league game by more than 3-1, but comfortably. I mean, we've had a pretty good run against Lowestoft recently, apart from them knocking us out of the FA Cup a couple of years ago, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And obviously, I dare say this might sound like a stupid question to you, but the club are evidently going to go on to try and emulate the 1920 success in the 2021 competition.
Of course. And, the good news is, the surprising thing is that there's only 2 sides that get drawn in the first round, and we've been one of those 2 the last 2 seasons, and it's Leiston again. But again, at least it's at home. And then if we do get through that, we've got Bury away in the second round. There's no reason why we shouldn't retain that. I know it's important, particularly for the supporters, and it would be great this year if the final was played at Portman Road, of course, because that always makes it a much better occasion for players and spectators.
Did having last year's at both a leg at both grounds in the final, did that make it harder, maybe?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not a great lover of 2-legged finals, to be honest. 2-legged semi-finals, I don't mind. But a final should be a final in my view. But given what had happened with the delayed start to the season and loss of income and the rest of it, it was the obvious thing to do was to play the game over 2 legs. So we had the choice together with Lowestoft. And obviously from the sponsors' point of view, Turners, it made sense for them because they got that much more publicity from 2 games rather than 1. particularly given that that one game wasn't at Portman Road.
Yeah, very true. And as you say, we've got Leiston at home and Bury away, who are like we said, we'd hope, if not expect, to retain it, but they're also, we've shown respect to those two sides. They are two good sides, so there'll be two different games as well. Would you say?
Yeah, I mean, we played Bury obviously pre-season and beat them fairly comfortably. But since then, they've made a great start to their league campaign, and they're right up there at the top. I know they've played more games than some of the other sides, but no, they've made a great start and did really well in the FA Cup before being knocked out by Banbury, funnily enough.
Yeah, and Leiston had a decent FA Cup run, if I remember.
Leiston had an equally good run as well, yeah. And they went out to higher league opposition. Their league form has been obviously disappointing for them, but the cup run was good, yeah.
And lastly, does the club, like, in terms of attendance, do the club, like, have a particular, like, target number? Or do they not?
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the Southern League attendance charts, we're usually in the top third, just below third possibly. I mean, 2 seasons ago, we averaged 300 and was similar the year before. Last year, with lockdown and stuff, we were quite a bit below 300. But 300 is the target. That's what we'd like to get. Obviously, Needham's only got a population of about 5,000, I think. So, you know, we punch way above our weight in terms of size of the town, of the attendances we get and the level we're playing at. But then on the other hand, you've got to look where we are on the A14. We're very well positioned geographically. And we do draw a lot of neutrals in. And a lot of these people out there will come and watch the best game available. And okay, that helps if you're a winning side, because people like to see winning teams and lots of goals. And so far this season, we're delivering just that. So, yeah, I'd say 300. And obviously there are sides in our level. We talked about Bromsgrove earlier. I mean, they averaged, there was over 900 when we played them away last season, and their average is just below 1,000, I think. So they're one of the better clubs. And then there's Tamworth and Stourbridge. Lots of the others get quite good crowds.
Yeah, like you say, it's like it's almost mesmerising in a way that a club like Needham, with that many people living in the town and area, are competing with clubs like Bromsgrove, your Tamworths, I think you can say AFC Russian Diamonds are another one, Colville are up there, etc., etc., in terms of being, like, as you've said, at the moment, we're the top club in non-league for Suffolk. So, how pleasing is that?
Well, very pleasing. I mean, obviously, we'd like it to be more like, 400, 500. And who knows, if we are successful and we do get promoted up to step 2, then you get much bigger crowds turning up in terms of away supporters. And you'd obviously draw even more of those neutrals who will come and see the best game that is available on that day. I mean, at the moment, you've got to admit that Bury are getting good crowds, Felixstowe are getting good crowds, Lowestoft less so. But so, I mean, again, that just tells you, I mean, all those places I've just mentioned have got much bigger population than Needham. I don't know what Bury's must be, but it's at least over 15,000. Lowestoft's more like 60,000. And Felixstowe, I don't know, that's got to be more than 10,000 as well. They're all much, much bigger towns than Needham.
Yeah.
So for us to get almost as good a crowd as them is pretty impressive. So, yeah, we'd always want more. And the more we can do, the more publicity we get, the better. And as long as we keep on performing well, playing well, scoring lots of goals, winning games, I don't see why that should stop.
And like you say, it also helps that non-league is thriving in Suffolk.
Yes, I mean, it's much I mean, if you go back, I was about to say, if you go back 20 years, all the clubs I've mentioned, so that's Lowestoft, Leiston, Sudbury, Bury, Needham, we were all playing at step 5. And in fact, a couple of years before that, we were at step 6, the same level our reserves are playing at now. So in 20 years, the top sort of 6 Suffolk sides have all gone up 2 levels in the case of us, Lowestoft and Leiston, and at least 1 level at the others, Sudbury and Bury.
Yeah, Bury were step 3, but they went down.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, they were in the Southern League several years before we got promoted to step 4 in the Isthmian League North. Yeah.
Yeah.
As were Sudbury, of course. They played in the Southern League as well with Bury.
Yes. Okay, that's all my questions.